Thank you very much for joining today's SCOM-a-thon Coffee Break. We're going to be looking at SCOM MI and what's new. There are a few specific features that we're going to be talking about, but there's more than just what's on the title slide, so very much looking forward to getting involved and getting into the details. So first, just quickly an introduction. I'm sure you're familiar with me now. I'm Bruce Cullen. I'm Director of Products here at Squared Up, and I'm sure you're also familiar with my guests. Today I'm joined by Aakash from the SCOM Product Group. Hello, Aakash.
Hey, everyone.
Good to have you with us again.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I have very little else to say. I don't know what's going to be presented myself, so pretty much I'm going to hand over to you at this point for you to take us through what's new with SCOM MI. So over to you.
Sure. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Bruce, for having been. It's been a pleasure to work with you and in a Squared Up team on all the webinars and all the events that emphasizes on monitoring capabilities, and of course showcases what's new in the world of monitoring, including SCOM. Right. Having said that, today I want to talk about what is the latest in terms of in SCOM, in Microsoft Azure Monitor, and of course SCOM Managed Instance. I'm going to talk about a couple of enhancements that have come up. Bruce, is it okay if I can share the desktop?
Yeah, go for it, by all means.
Yeah. Cool. So again, a couple of things that have changed recently is the onboarding improvements which have come in SCOM MI specifically, and the log analytics improvements that are going to come in SCOM MI. There has been a lot of more innovations that have happened in the world of SCOM MI, but before getting into it, I just want to give you a little bit of context. From the System Center point of view, the products within System Center, including SCOM, will remain. We will continue to support. We will continue to release newer versions whenever there is a new version of Windows Server, just like how we released 2025. And then the support will be there as well for these products. But again, our focus is more on the cloud aspects. We want to help customers moving to the cloud, create less barriers or remove all the existing barriers so that they can move to either Azure Monitor or SCOM Managed Instance, whichever is their requirement, right? If you're very heavily dependent on management packs, then SCOM MI would be the best way to go about. And if you are okay to reconfigure the monitoring rules, then Azure Monitor would be the right approach, right? And of course, whichever lay out the base foundation here, that SCOM Managed Instance is one of the capabilities within Azure Monitor. Just like over here, if you notice, when I go to Monitor, you have a lot of capabilities, a lot of tools like application insights, container, network insights, all of those.
Just quickly, Aakash, we're just seeing the title slide from your slide deck. I don't think you showed your whole screen, just in case there's something other than that we're supposed to be seeing.
I did. Let me try the whole window again. Thanks, Bruce. So I was pointing at the screen under Azure Monitor, Azure Portal, where you see the entire suite of capabilities within Azure Monitor. We do understand there are multiple options here, but again, at the end of the day, it all depends on what is your requirement. If you're looking to monitor all the applications that you create, like the web apps and all of those, then you have application insights. If you want to monitor the Kubernetes, the containers, then container insights. So you get a wealth of capabilities, including our very own SCOM Managed Instance, right? So there is going to be a bit of change in terms of configurations, in terms of setup and all of those. But with SCOM MI, we want to reduce that change as much as possible, because you can reuse all your management packs, right? That said, let's get into today's conversation. I really want to have a kind of an open conversation today. I just don't want to be a show and tell and a demo. Happy to engage over chat as well as a live conversation, right? Let's talk about what's in store for today. One is, of course, the log analytics change. We already had. I'm sorry, we going past these introduction slides. So what is LA integration? LA integration is nothing but the SCOM MI sends the data to log analytics, so that any customization or any investigation that you want to do and build reports on is available through log analytics, like workbooks, Grafana, and whatnot, right? So the data from SQL Ops database is sent to Log Analytics. So currently there is state, event, performance, and MP audit data, which is sent to Log Analytics, and it is sent as a unidirectional. There's no sync back, sent from SCOM database to Log Analytics, right? But we did hear feedback saying that, hey, you're sending the data to Log Analytics, but we're not able to correlate, right? I'm not able to tie it back to the alerts. I'm not able to tie it back to a machine saying that, hey, let's say C drive is full. I'm not able to find out which machine and get the alert for that. So what we are doing right now is, or rather this was how it was. You click on SCOM MI, you click on configure Log Analytics workspace, and then you choose the type of data. This is how it is. So we're making a change in the design based on feedback. That is, we are adding 2 additional data sets called managed entity and relationship that will be synced to Log Analytics. Nothing but we are tying the relation, we are bringing the links together. As I was talking about an example, right? C drive of a machine. So I'll be able to group all the alerts or group all the data around that machine, which is the entity, right? And that is the. So what I was saying is the purpose of adding them, or rather the benefit of adding this managed entity and relationship is we can try to go away or do away from data warehouse and use Log Analytics for your retention, for your backup, and for all reporting purposes, right? I'm leaving a small QR code on the top extreme right. I've also placed the link for the same QR code in the chat window. We want to know from you what else can be added, or what other type of data do you want to be synced from SCOM. Because SCOM has a wealth of data, we want to know what matters to you most. And would you be interested in using this Log Analytics integration as since we are making enhancements to it, right? What is stopping you, or what more do you want, right? And of course, how do you plan to use it, right? So this is the Log Analytics integration, and the UI will look like this. So this is how the UI will look like, the change or the new design, where we are ensuring all the data that is sent to Log Analytics is by default. We don't want to give an option saying that, hey, do you want to send event data? Do you want to send performance data? We don't want to make it optional. We want to send all of it. And of course, managed entity and relationship will be more of a default table which will be created within Log Analytics table, because without that, you can't tie all these metrics together, right? So that's a quick brief on Log Analytics. I'm open to hearing any feedback if there is any questions around this, right?
If there is any feedback, feel free to put it either in the chat, but also note Aakash has put in a feedback form. So if you have anything you'd like to share more formally, feel free to use that too. And yeah, we'll take it now or at the end.
Yeah, happy to feel free to interrupt. So moving forward to our onboarding, right? So I just want to quickly change the view here. If you look at SCOM managed instance right now, right, there is a lot of prerequisites. Okay, this is, so I want to show what the existing one looks like, which is a little bit of a very, very cumbersome process. Right. So right now, any user who's interested in creating SCOM MI has to go through a huge set of prerequisites that you're seeing here. Right. So what we have done is we have tried to go away. Let's talk a bit more. So the onboarding process of nothing but creation of SCOM MI instance and prerequisites, all of that was taking a really long time. It took multiple teams to work with, multiple weeks or sometimes months to get a SCOM MI created. Right, so that delayed migration process, that delayed exploration process, all of those. So what we have done is we have reduced the 11 prerequisites to 3, and we have removed the dependency on Active Directory, and of course we want to use Azure RBAC, right? So we are moving closer and closer towards Azure constructs, making it easier for users to use the product natively within Azure. Right. So what is the benefit? Of course, it reduces the onboarding time from weeks to hours, and then of course helps users to explore and use SCOM MI for production usage. As I mentioned, right, going through the whole 11 prerequisites taking multiple weeks. Now it's just a couple of clicks. I'll talk to you about how it looks right now. And of course, this also helps in faster scaling up, scaling down, and more reliable patching, because we are removing some of the SCOM legacy, I would say, dependency. So it makes things more easier. So how does the UI look like? Let me show you right now. So this is how, when I click on create, oops, I shouldn't have removed the previous. Yeah. So this is how the UI will look like. When I click on create a SCOM managed instance, just three prerequisites. One is create a subnet, create an identity, and of course create SQL MI, which are kind of, I feel, which are kind of very obvious and given, right? So one is subnet, one is for permissions, and so one is for storage of data, right? So once I click on create, I'll come to your question, Saipawan. So you provide the names provide the SCOM instance name, and then you provide the subnet name, which if you've already created comes up very quickly. And then you provide a DNS name, because DNS is required for the load balancer, which is a kind of a medium between the agents and the SCOM MI instance, right? So I'm just gonna put in host.myms.com. Again, this is for dummy one, and then choose the SQL MI once it's already created, and then choose the identity, right? That's it. So you're done. So from those multiple tabs that were previously there, we have reduced it to 3. So and the onboarding time also is faster. It takes about 30-35 minutes to create a SCOM MI. Okay.
I can vouch
so
for that.
This. Sorry, Bruce.
I can vouch that it's significantly quicker. We had a go here at Squared Up.
or it's a private preview setup. Folks who are interested can let me know. I can share the link, and you can try it in your respective tenants, right? There is no other prerequisites required. It's pretty straightforward, right? We have an offline instructions file as well on what to do, how to create the subnet, how to create SQL MI, all of those, just to ensure it's easier and it's faster for you folks, right? So yeah, these were the two major things that I had in store to discuss. One was, of course, the log analytics, and the other one was the onboarding experience. As I mentioned, there are quite a few more. I'm just running through some of the things that are there here. So there are quite a few other SCOM MI innovations that are also happening. One is, of course, with log analytics change, we also want to provide inbuilt workbooks and Grafana that will talk to the log analytics database. We want to provide those pre-built dashboards, because management packs had those dashboards. Now it's not there. When you create SCOM MI, what do I do? So we want to provide those pre-built dashboards. The other already called out changes are more reliable patching and scaling. So scaling, we are changing the underlying architecture, right? So earlier we used to, when we had to patch, we were creating management servers, bringing it up to speed, and removing the old ones. So all your custom configurations were lost. So now we are not doing it. We are doing an in-place upgrade of existing management servers. Scaling up, scaling down, because of this AD removal, is pretty fast, and it's reliable as well. Of course, there is a huge set of things that we have not talked about. The agents, right? Deploying the agents is very easy and pretty straightforward. And of course, if we support and recommend two types of connectivity or two types of data agent sources. One is, of course, Azure VMs, and the second one is Arc VMs, right? Arc is the means to talk to an on-premises VM. Arc is, as I mentioned, is a means to talk to or manage on-premises VMs within Azure. So with Arc, you can, let's say, monitor, you can apply policies, do backup restore and whatnot, right? So Arc is just a means. It's like a CCTV, a camera to, let's say, a remote machine, right? Where you can manage remote operations. Uh, this is again, I've not gone into the details of this because this is something which has already been there, right? And you can choose multiple VMs and add and manage directly here, right? Just want to call out all the machines, all the agents come with the option of auto upgrade. You don't need to apply patches on the agents, SCOM MI agents, so they are automatically upgraded or updated. Okay. I want to talk about some of the questions which are there on the chat, but yeah, I'm happy to address anyone who wants to come off mute.
If anyone wants to come off mute, if you raise your hand, I'll figure out how to do that. But in the meantime, let's go through the questions in the chat. Starting with Saipavan, how can we control the logs sending to Log Analytics workspace so that we're not flooded? Essentially, is the first question.
Yeah. So currently, the data that we send to Log Analytics from SCOM MI is very limited, as we mentioned earlier, right? It is just performance data, it is event data, it is state, and then audit, MP audit data, right? These are very limited data. We don't see the flooding situation yet, but yeah, happy to learn if there are specific scenarios where we expect data flooding to Log Analytics, right?
I mean, it looks like it's essentially, on top of that, you could obviously untick types you don't want to send to Log Analytics. So perf data typically being, more meaty might be something you could choose not to send if you're worried about sending too much as well.
And second, management packs. If you're collecting in management pack, that data will obviously be sent to Log Analytics. So the easiest way to control is the source, which is your management pack. So you can disable or override the rules which are collecting unnecessary performance data.
Makes sense. Sounds good. Okay. Question number 2 then from Peter. Will there be a feature to use SCOM MI in a DNR situation, disaster recovery, I'm guessing that is? When moving to another region, networking has different IP addresses will be different, etc.
Yeah, that's a very good question. We recently created documentation about it on how to set up disaster recovery for SCOM managed instance. Let me see if I can find it. Monitor view query. Just trying to see how efficiently can we go about navigating our own docs. A little embarrassing here that I'm not able to locate disaster recovery guidance. Yeah.
There you go.
So this is what we have right now. So what we recommend is we recommend creating 2 SCOM MI instances in region A and region B. And whenever something goes wrong with region A, then we, there are what do you say, instructions on how to switch from region A to region B for all the virtual machines which are connected to region A. Right now, it is a bit of a guided experience, but we are working towards making it a bit more, I would say, built-in with the help of multi-homing. Right, not soon, but a little time later.
Good answer. Makes sense. All right, next question then. How will the operations console work in a new non-domain joint setup? Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it will work with your Entra ID account, Robert. So the account, when you open the console, it will ask you to log in, and the account that will be used to log in will be your Entra ID, your Azure AD account, with be it single sign-on or with username, password, whatever it is. It will, and that user needs to be added in Azure RBAC for SCOM MI, contributor, SCOM MI, administrator, Azure Monitor administrator at the end of the day.
Nice.
Those instructions will be provided when this whole thing goes live.
So my question is, when does it all go live? So tee me up nicely.
Again, there is another huge innovation that is happening within SCOM MI, which is which is moving away from SQL MI to more native Azure database. Again, but I don't want to raise hopes and give you timelines about it. That's the work that is ongoing. So we want to combine all these things together and give it to end users, because we don't want end users to keep creating new instances as and how we progress. So along with AD removal, along with all these log analytics changes, we are exploring. We are closer to the end of the tunnel, but want to move away from SQL MI and go to more native Azure database platform, without naming which one right now. So once that is there, we will be live. I would say right now we're in February. I would say, to be optimistic, somewhere in May, maybe
Very
sooner.
cool. Very cool. Well, we've got one of the announcements later on today is announcing SCOMathon 2025, which is pretty close. So hopefully we'll get another snapshot then to see what's changed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question then. When will we see support for monitoring of Azure Linux VMs?
Yeah, I was expecting this, right? So there is always a follow-up question on, hey, I was using SCOM to monitor my network devices. I was using SCOM to monitor my Linux devices. Why or what should I do now? Because it is not supported. So as I was talking about earlier, right? Azure Monitor has all these capabilities previously as well, or rather has built in. So what we recommend moving forward, in our documentation as well, we will add that is Network Insights is what we want to recommend for monitoring network devices. We want we for Linux monitoring. Is my connection still on? I saw my camera blinking.
Yep, still
Okay.
good.
Sorry. So for Linux monitoring, we recommend using VM Insights, and that has a few rules built in. But if not, then there is GitHub open repository for Linux monitoring right now, the rules. But again, you can create DCRs manually to monitor Linux machines, but through SCOM MI, it is not supported and recommended.
Sounds good. All right. Next question then. I've been asked to create a proposal to move from on-prem SCOM to SCOM MI. Is there any past recorded session or write-up which will be handy to work out the nitty-gritty? Whoa, it's quite a broad question.
Yeah, that's exactly, the nitty gritty is something which we may need to get more details. If you look at all our past SCOMathon events, or I would say all the squared up events with Microsoft Product Group, are about what is there in SCOM MI. So probably we may need to look at the archives, Hemant.
Yeah, and they're all on scomathon.com essentially. So all past sessions are there. I would also say have a look at the SCOM product documentation, which does include sort of like guides on comparing
Of
and
course.
feature sets and things. Thank you. Next question then, with the removal of AD components. Oh, another question came in and it scrolled. Will the existing SCOM MI be impacted with the removal of on-prem AD components?
So users will be impacted, people who have been using SCOM MI in the existing format. But again, I don't want to cause panic. We will reduce the impact as much as possible and help you transition to the new SCOM MI version with as much ease as possible, right? When we are there, provide you handhold and move to the latest SCOM MI version.
Okay, sounds good. Next question then, is it possible to sync not only SCOM MI data, but on-prem SCOM data to log analytics as well?
So that feature is been there already. It is there in the SCOM
Yeah.
SCOM agent. But again, we have removed the support because it required a lot of changes on how to enable or how to support the log analytics connection from SCOM. It required a lot of investments to secure it, to ensure that it is able to adapt to the log analytics changes, but it is still working. Jago.
Okay, good question, good answer. Next one then, do I understand correctly that you are not using data collection rules from the agents to log analytics?
Yes, we are not sending the data from agents to log analytics. From agents, the data gets dumped to SCOM MI, and then from the SCOM MI will dump the data to log analytics. Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't
Next
know
question then.
if it's my network issue or is it the tooling.
I
I'm
don't know.
assuming it's mine.
I think it's your end. I had one issue earlier, but it seems okay. But nonetheless, we will continue. Next question then, which is a good one. We use infrastructure as code to deploy all of the resources to Azure. Do you have any information when the latest version of the proposed SCOM MI module will be publicized? And then a link to a module, a bicep module from the looks of things.
That's a very interesting question, Glenn. So again, Glenn, probably if you are able to unmute and come to an open conversation here. Again, I understand that you can use these infrastructure as a code or a bicep template when you want to deploy mass, when you want to redeploy multiple times. But do you expect to keep deploying SCOM MI instances again and again, or multiple times? Right? Because if that is the thing, then we definitely want to help. And I believe Top Code, right? Bob's team was working on creating a bicep template for SCOM MI deployment, right? So we can probably work with a partner like Squared Up or a Top Code.
I'd be interested to know why. Is it the just general benefits of having all your infrastructure and version controlled in infrastructure as code, or is there more of a use case? Be interested to find out. Anyway, good question, good answer. What else? Some of these questions have been answered, so I'm skipping over some. Is it possible to create customization on the management service with the non-domain joined version of SCOM MI, like accessing internal websites protected by certificates issued by internal CA?
Yeah, so we are, Robert. I know we have been in an offline conversation as well. We are not going to support it. Those offline customization on the SCOM managed instance servers, right? We don't want to recommend and support it, but you will be able to do it and retain those customizations with this latest design. I do understand you have a lot of customizations, sending with schedulers, with let's say task scripts and whatnot. Those things you can retain when in the new SCOM instance, and it won't be impacted during patching or scaling.
Sounds good. Let's see, what else have I not asked? When will the VM scale set go away in favor of a native Azure service? That's a good question. That's a Mark.
Yeah, that is something we all want to. Hi, Mark. That is something we all want to go towards. That's our ultimate goal. But when I don't have an answer for when.
Without putting words into your mouth, I would guess that the amount of work required is significant, let's say, to make that happen, which is going to be why.
Yeah.
I think that's the last question that's written, but there are some people talking. So if there are any questions, please do keep them coming. Here we go. One more from Roberts. Will there be REST API, PowerShell /ARM/Terraform support for adding and removing servers?
Hold on.
The bicep question.
Where is the? I just see half the question on my end. Will there be REST? Okay, yeah, I see it now. Removing servers? No, not yet. It's not in the pipeline, Robert. But we do have the REST operations for agents, PowerShell-based operations to manage the agents, to add, remove all of those. So we have that already available, and that is something which is also available in our disaster recovery documentation. We have provided a couple of scripts to export, to deboard, and onboard. All of it is through PowerShell based scripts. So, but for servers, not yet. Again, I'm interested to understand the use case, because we want to make it as simple as just sliding the bar and increasing or reducing the servers. I'm just trying to understand how many times will you keep changing the server configurations.
Yeah, the use case would be interesting to know. I see Robert's typing. unless there are any questions from anyone else, that is the last one at the moment. So just we'll see if there are any other questions. A lot, especially when migrating. What it says.
I think so. The use case he was referring to.
Yeah, a lot of use cases. Be interesting to get the specifics. What we'll do is I'm going to finish off with a few more slides, and we'll come back to the questions at the end, because there may well be more as people get a chance to think about it. Let me just move this out of the way, and we'll just finish in slides real quick. So I just have a few last things just to say. And that is the SCOMathon is back for another year. We're back on the 30th of April, which is awesome news for those of you who are fans of content like this. And we have just open registration. So if you go to scomathon.com, it's live. And we're also looking for speakers. So if you think you could be interested in speaking, please do fill in the form that's there at scomathon.com/scomathon 2025. And also back for another year is the Big SCOM Survey 2025. So we're now looking for people to start submitting their entries this year. So this is going to be really important for both us as vendors, but also for the likes of Aakash at the SCOM product team, to find out how you guys are using SCOM and what your plans are for SCOM and the surrounding landscape and environment. And that is at scomathon.com/survey. So that was all I really wanted to say before we go back to questions. Let me just see if there are any final questions or thoughts. We use Bicep and are trying to rely on Azure VMs as much as possible. My question was more about when it will be possible. When will the proposed SCOM MI module be allocated an owner and the first published version? That's for
Yeah.
Glenn. That's for the
So
Bicep module.
yeah, this was what we were talking about, right? When part. When will the news comment might be available? I don't want to give it probably midway this year, or hopefully sooner. But yeah, we want to allow a bit more uh, option that we want to allow SCOM MI to be operated a bit more easily, programmatically through APIs or through REST, as Robert was asking. But yeah, once we have the new SCOM MI version available, it will become the programmatic handling of the instances and of the service will become easier.
Sounds good to me. The more APIs, the better. All right, well, that
Yeah, yeah.
seems to be the end of the questions. So all that's left to say, apart from my usual thank you, both to you, Aakash, for joining me today, and to those of you for participating and watching. It's worth just checking out the link that Aakash has put in the chat to the SCOM product group's feedback form, because if you have any feedback for Aakash and the team that occurs in between now and when we next catch up with Aakash and team, which will likely be at SCOMathon, then that's the place to go and give your feedback. And if not, I'd like to strongly encourage you all to register for SCOMathon, because that is probably going to be the next opportunity when we're going to hear from Aakash and the SCOM product group. So that's it. Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Aakash, and see you all very soon. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks everyone.